Hi, welcome to One Device Wonders, presented by me, Tara Graves, for the Washoe County School District 21st Century Learning Division. The objectives for the webinar are as follows. Identify challenges with having only one device in your classroom. Identify essentials needed to maximize the use of one computer, laptop, or iPad. Explore ways to manage and organize the use of one computer, laptop, or iPad. Explore strategies and ideas, and motivate you to maximize the use of your one device in your classroom. Our guiding framework is what we call the 6 dimensions of 21st century learning environments. And this comes from the Microsoft Innovative Teaching and Learning Research. This is a one-page summary guide of each of the different sets of rubrics for each dimension. You can see the 6 dimensions across the bottom. And we have teachers use this when they're planning their learning activities, so as part of their lesson planning. And as they're planning, they look at the 6 dimensions and see if any of them are a good fit for what they're doing. So for instance, excuse me, if they're doing something where there's some collaboration involved, or they're doing something where possibly they could add some collaboration, they would take a look at this piece. So looking at the bottom, it says students are collaborating when they work in pairs or groups to discuss an issue, solve a problem, and or create a product. So as they look at their learning activity, they start at the bottom and look at this first box. It says students are required to work in pairs or groups. And the teacher would then look at the lesson plan and determine, am I asking kids to work in pairs or groups, or are they working on their own? Is this a whole class activity? And if they can say yes, they're working in pairs or groups, if that they're required to, then they move up in this column. And the next question would be, do students have shared responsibility for the outcome? So are students getting graded on a common product or a common response? And if the answer to that one is yes, then you keep moving up further and further. And the further up you go, you are moving towards a more student-centered learning environment. And you can't jump over any of these things. You have to start here at the bottom and work your way up and include each of those as you go. So for more information, you'll be directed to a website, and you can download this guide as well as the complete text of the research that goes behind each of these dimensions. So this thought may have gone through your head before, as you learn more about integrating technology and see other teachers who may have class sets of laptops or class sets of iPads. We can't use this excuse anymore, so I don't want to hear you say this anymore. There are so many things you can do with that one device you have, with your teacher computer. If that's the only technology you have in your room, you're way ahead of a lot of teachers around the world. So think about looking at that one computer, and even if it's super old, there are still things you can do to actually have students use the technology. So that is my hope for you, that after this workshop, you'll have a lot of ideas and you'll really start maximizing the use of that one device in your room. So what are the challenges? There are several. Even just having one device is a challenge, but what goes along with it when you're trying to get more use out of it, that's what we're going to address in the next few slides. This is quite a complex diagram here of all the issues that happen when you are dealing with one computer in your classroom. And I'm going to just touch briefly on this, but you can always link through and look at it more in depth if you wish. So the first challenge is the hardware, making sure that you have a working piece of hardware, making sure that it turns on and it's got a decent amount of memory and it works, functions as it should. So whether that is a desktop computer or a laptop or an iPad, needing to make sure that the hardware is working. And once that's working, then you have to make sure that your software is working. Looking at the types of programs that you are using. Are they on a CD-ROM or on a DVD? Are they programs that are installed on the computer through the district, like the Microsoft Office suite? Being aware of what you already have is important. So looking through the computer itself and seeing what programs are there, it would be good to take inventory of what you have available to you. Internet resources. There are seriously millions of different resources available to you. It's just knowing how to find them and knowing how to find quality sites. So taking classes like this one can expose you to a lot of useful sites for your own grade level or your content area. So once you've started thinking more about using your technology more with students, go ahead and start curating resources that you find into one location, whether it's just saving bookmarks on your computer, on the browser, or if you are using something like social bookmarking to collect and curate quality resources. We'll get to some of those in a few slides, but having the time to find good resources is at a premium. So you do need to set aside some time for that if you're going to really maximize that device. Value added. You need to ask yourself, why am I using this technology with my students? Is it just to say that I'm using my computer with the kids, they're playing a game on it, so that means they're learning. You need to really stop and ask yourself, can students access this learning without using technology? And if they can, then technology is just another tool that maybe they don't need to use. So when you think about adding technology to your instruction or to the things that you have students doing, you really need to make sure that there is value added in being able to use the technology. They need to be able to do things that they couldn't normally do because they didn't have access to it. And they need to be using it for knowledge construction and not just wasting time or drill and kill types of things. Equity is a big one. So you've got one device, and let's say you have 30 students in your room. How are you going to make sure they're all having equal access to it and time to work? So scheduling it is going to be something you'll need to think about and plan for. And we will discuss some ideas for that. Teacher use versus student use. Now, if you take a look back at that 6-dimension guide and under use of technology for learning, the first criteria is students are using the technology. It's not enough that you use it, whether you're using it to show a video or using it to do a presentation. Students must have the technology in their hands and be able to use it in order for them to move up even one step on that dimension. Management. Managing this device is going to be tricky because there's things that you need excuse me, that you need to do as a teacher just to do business of the classroom, such as taking attendance and so on. So you need to make sure that you are scheduling in the time for your own use outside of the instructional time. Also providing instructions for using certain programs on the computer, or even how to log in or get onto a browser depending on the age of the students. You need to think about what kinds of instructions they will need, because you cannot stop what you're doing every 10 minutes to go help a student that's working on the computer or a group of students. So you need to think about that as well. Also, the arrangement of your classroom can be very important to maximizing the use of this one device. And then planning and preparation. This is where you're going to be spending a lot of time behind the scenes getting things ready so that kids, when they have their time to use the computer, they can actually jump right in and not waste time. Okay, so first we're going to take a look at some of the essentials that you need when either dealing with a laptop or a desktop computer. So let's look at hardware and peripherals. You need to have a good set of speakers, especially if you are going to show video of any kind. All the students need to be able to hear it no matter where they're sitting in the classroom. You also need to have a good microphone. One of the ideas would be that you are allowing students to record themselves reading or interviewing one another, or presenting something just in an audio format. So students need to be able to do that. LCD projector, or if you have an active board, some way to project what is on your computer is definitely essential to using that one device for the whole class. A headset with microphone, as you see in the lower right hand corner, that's useful when students are, or you are, participating in any kind of online meeting or using Skype, anywhere where they're needing to speak as well as listen to content. A digital camera that can be used by students and the teacher as well, taking photos of projects that are going on in the classroom, or pictures of on when they go outside of the school or around the school. Just any time images are needed of students or student work. And the last thing is that little 3-in-1 printer, copier, scanner. A lot of times projects can be created by scanning in a piece of student work and using another tool online to annotate it or use it in certain projects that are online, like creating digital books and using it in digital storytelling as well. Software and internet, whether you have a hardwire or wireless, you need to have some way to be connected to the internet so that you can access all of the world of Web 2.0 tools that are out there. Our district, we all have Microsoft Office. We have all those products already on the computers. Google Drive and Dropbox are both cloud storage, so storing videos, photos, documents. Google Drive also has many collaborative tools available, so I would recommend that as well. Microsoft Office has online access with 365 and OneDrive, where you can access documents anywhere on the internet. All right, next let's take a look at management and organization ideas for either the laptop or the desktop computer. You need to be able to move it around the classroom wherever it might be needed. It shouldn't just sit on the teacher's desk. It's not really that accessible to kids that way, especially if your desk is off limits to students, which I would think most teachers have that rule. Then the computer needs to move. It needs to be somewhere else where students can get to it. And I like these little carts here just because part of the mobility, but also like this one could be used also as a podium. So if you're doing instruction from here with the computer, it just makes it nice to have it all together in one place and mobile. All right, so scheduling access to the device, to the computer or laptop. You can see these kind of charts in rooms where they have a station rotation where the computer is part of it. And ideally, you would have students working in pairs or groups when they go to the computer. So having it actually planned out for the day is very useful. So kids realize that they will have a chance to be on the computer and that they can plan for when it's their time. Some more ideas. Having a waiting list so that students can, if they need to use the computer for something, they can write their name on it. Other ideas is just to put a class list, and students, as they come up and use it, they can cross out their name, that they've already used it for the day. Just some different ideas. Also using something like this class random name picker on classtools.net. It's kind of fun to spin it, and that's the person who gets to use the computer next. So just some fun ways. There's other ones as well to pick from on classtools.net. And StickPick is actually an app where it's the whole idea of just choosing a popsicle stick out of a can. You could also do an actual popsicle stick can to schedule or to pick who's next on the computer. So just some ideas to make sure that it's equitable access for students. For help in monitoring, I mentioned this earlier, you need to have some basic visual help for students for different troubleshooting they might need to have when they're at the computer. And so thinking of like this might be for older students where you might want to use more pictures to help the younger students, but what's crazy is that even young students in kindergarten and first grade can figure out, they can navigate around a computer pretty well. So, but definitely have a resource available so that they're not always, interrupting you if you're with a group of students or bothering other students who are working. It really helps them figure out not to be helpless and lets them practice those skills of troubleshooting, which even some adults don't even have yet. Setting a timer is a good idea, whether it's just basic kitchen timer. There's online timers as well you can use. And some computer labs I've seen the kids using like these solo cups where the blue cup means come check out what I'm doing, I'm really excited about it, and the red cup means I need some help. And again, with any of these ideas, students need to practice the procedures and really understand why they're in place and before you get started, so they know that this is how we, work the computer in the class, and this is how I get help if I need it. Also, think about having some tech buddies, kids that are pretty on top of technology and can always help, and sometimes probably even help you with something on the computer that you're stuck on. So having this be like a job for the day, maybe 2 or 3 kids are the tech buddies for the day, and anytime anyone needs some help on the computer, it's up to them to be the first line of defense, and then they come to you if they can't figure out what the issue is. Passwords. This takes some training for kids to remember their passwords and not always have to rely on, having it written down somewhere. Helping students come up with a good way to come up with a secure password. So mixing capitals and lowercase, numbers and non-alphanumeric characters, but not making it so complicated that you can never remember. So make sure that students have a way to create a password and remember their password for different accounts that they use. It would be helpful for the teacher to keep a notebook or some kind of roster or something that has student passwords for different programs that they're using all the time. Resources and file management. So think about having some way for kids to manage the work that they're doing, even if it's on the computer. If they have worksheets or notes that accompany a project that they're doing on the computer, maybe create a file for each student that is next to the computer so that they can access their notes right away when they go to the computer. Maybe having a thumb drive. Maybe each student has a thumb drive that they take back and forth with them, school to home, and so on, so they can continue working on assignments. And if possible, it would be even better to get them on some kind of cloud storage, like Dropbox or Google Drive, or Sky. Well, it's now called OneDrive. Used to be called SkyDrive. That's a Microsoft product. But some way for them to keep track of their files. Depending on the software or the Web 2.0 tool, sometimes it can save their work within the system itself, and it stores it on there for them. So just be aware and make sure you have a plan for storing their information. Rules and expectations. We have these for all aspects of our classroom and different places that they go in the school, like the tech lab and so on. So make sure that you have explicit expectations and rules for them when dealing with your technology, especially if it's your teacher computer that they're going to be working on. You want to make sure that they're not getting into programs that they're not supposed to, that they're not deleting things off the desktop that you need. Some kids are kind of little stinkers, and they get in there and just try to mess stuff up they think they're being funny. But anyway, make sure you have rules in place and also consequences for not following the rules. The next slide deals with having a home base. Now, what I mean by this is having a digital location where all of your resources and things that you want students to use when they get on the computer, where it's all found. This would also help you move into a blended classroom model and a flipped classroom model. If you have a home base, it actually does 2 things. First, it organizes everything that you want kids to do. You can put in a daily assignment and have all the links available right there. So using it in class is more efficient. But then you can also have things on there that is their homework that they can access from home. And I realize they don't all have, devices and wireless and so on at home, but we are getting there. As a society, we are getting there. It's becoming more and more a given that people need to be connected and they need to be able to get online and access resources both for their personal life and for learning, for school, for education. So whether you use something like Edmodo, which is very similar to Facebook, but it's set up for schools, or a blog that you have, a classroom blog, or a teacher website, any of those, as long as it's a one-stop shop for all the stuff that the kids will need to find. Printing. You probably won't print very often once you move to using technology more and more in your classroom. The goal would possibly end up being that you go paperless, which I know a lot of teachers are starting to make plans for doing that. But every once in a while you do need to print or you need to scan something. There are also printers out there, lots of them, that are wireless enabled, so you can print from any device that is wireless, which makes it really nice. And some more ideas and strategies as we move forward. Most classroom computers are used for two things. One, looking up things on the internet, and two, playing some kind of game or doing some kind of an assessment in the classroom. One tool or one strategy that would be helpful is to teach kids how to use multiple tabs in a browser. So as you're opening, so they're not opening up another window every time they want to look at something else. Using tabs is an excellent way for them to show them how much more efficiently they can use the internet. If they open up two or three, or if you open up two or three tabs for the day and tell them not to close them and show them how to move between those three tabs, the time that they spend on the computer is much more efficient because they're not continuously looking for where they're supposed to be. There's also a way in most browsers to save the tabs that are open as the home page. So every time you open the browser, those 4 or 5 tabs automatically open up. Also, it'd be nice for someone in the classroom to be the designated Googler for the day. So if you're talking in a group about something and a word comes up that they don't know, or a person's name, and they can say, "Hey Googler, can you look this up for us?" And just really show them the power that we have at our fingertips because of the internet. Pinterest and Diigo are both social bookmarking sites, and what I like about social bookmarking, this is our division's Pinterest boards, is that you can pin or bookmark basically all these different resources and based on a category. So this one's our infographics board. And it's not just about the image. The images are what make it really visually appealing and interesting. But when I go and click on the image, it opens up this infographic. But the infographic is not the only thing that is linked. Well, okay, it's the only thing that's linked on this one. Most of these are representative of a website. And infographics is probably not the best one to show you how this works. Let me go back. Okay, so videos for the classroom. So this pin here, it's not just this image. This image is what is the link to this blog post, okay, about using video of over 400 completely organized brain breaks in educational YouTube videos. Okay, so it's a link to this blog post. So giving students the link to a Pinterest board helps them filter through the resources you have already curated for a certain topic that they're looking at. Diigo is also the same concept. It's not as cool looking because it doesn't have all the images, but it's basically a way to share bookmarks that you've created while you're browsing the internet. But Diigo allows students or anybody that is part of the group on Diigo, so you can set up a group for your class, and all of the websites that you have added to Diigo, students can go through and actually highlight parts of the website, and they can put a little digital sticky note on there with comments. You can really make these websites interactive just by using that tool. Videos and tutorials, there are several. I've just highlighted a few of them here. Khan Academy is well known for their math content, videos and lessons, but they have more than just math content. Math is the biggest part of that library of tutorials, but you can also assign certain lessons to students within Khan Academy. I'll go ahead and click on here. And these are all the subjects that are included. And you can create a class and add students. And you can give them the code to join, but then basically they just go through and work on their lessons, and you can see their progress. And I haven't added my students and my test students in here. I haven't done any of the work, but just to show you, there's a lot of other stuff as well. It also has a badge program built in, so there's little recognition for completing certain things. Okay, it's really cool, so I recommend checking that out. Nomia is another site where you can use videos with your students. You can also pull from the library of lessons that are on here. And you can also personalize what students are doing on the site. And it is also an app, and you can create lessons on the iPad. And do assignments here. So that's Nomia. YouTube.edu or /edu. These are all videos that teachers or that are education related, and they're sorted by categories here. And you can just search also. If you wanted to search for a certain topic, you can type it in there. TeacherTube, same idea. A lot of us used TeacherTube before YouTube was unblocked in the district. So a lot of great social aspects to that as well. You can, and same with YouTube. You can subscribe to people's videos, so every time they post a new one, you always have it in your account that you can access. TED Ed is a really fun tool. These are lessons created around any of the TED Talks or other YouTube videos. And what's great about it is the lessons are already created for you. So the video is there, you watch the video, then when you click on Think, it asks you questions that you complete. And then you can click on Dig Deeper, and it extends the learning. And then Discuss, it takes you to a discussion forum. I highly recommend this one as you are beginning to use more video in your classroom. And you can just check it out. It's all free. The frequently asked questions here. You can change existing lessons. So if you like a lesson but you want to just take out part of it, you can do that. Or if you want to add more. And then it tells you how to review student responses to the lesson. And let me just show you real quickly the types of lessons you can find. Okay, so you watch the video again. They're not real long. This one's about a 5-minute video. And then questions. And then dig deeper and discuss. Okay. And that's TED. Okay, so another idea would be to have students use the computer for creating something and or revising Google Docs, for example. Since it's web-based, they can log in and access their documents and or create new ones using Google Docs. Prezi is another tool that is alternative to PowerPoint. It's kind of a fun presentation tool. And I'll just show you some basic ideas of what Prezi looks like. So you very much can set it up like a PowerPoint, and in fact you can import PowerPoint into Prezi and create a new one. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you go to create a new Prezi. And what's really cool is they have all these templates where you can just pick one that you like and then put in all your own information and images and so on. And all of the paths are set as far as the zoom. And you basically just follow it step by step. And of course you can edit these as well. Just something a little different from PowerPoint. And then other ideas for projects that students can do at the one computer in your class is to use any multimedia. There's various Web 2.0 tools that you'll be able to explore for creating multimedia projects. The computer that is connected to the internet, whether it's hardwired or Wi-Fi, is really your class's window to the world. And there are various tools that you can use to connect them to other people around the world. Skype is one of them. It's a free tool that you can use, and you can find other teachers, even around the school district, that you would like to connect with and communicate with and maybe collaborate on a project with. Video conferencing. You can also share your screen with another person. So it's really helpful. Twitter is, hopefully you've heard about Twitter. It's considered a micro blog because you are limited to 140 characters for each tweet. And if you're not on Twitter yet, I highly encourage you to get on Twitter because it is the largest personal learning network for teachers in the world. So Twitter is good for students as well to learn how to summarize or be succinct in something that they want to say. You can also put in links and images and video into a tweet. Ustream is a tool that allows you to basically broadcast from your classroom. If you have a webcam, you just sign in to an account and you stream whatever it is on your webcam that you're doing in your classroom. So you can do experiments or things that you want to share with parents or the community. Again, this is a tool where you would definitely want to get parent permission to be broadcasting what's going on in the classroom. So when you have time to explore, if you want to check that out, the link is on the Pinterest board. EduBlogs and KidBlogs. EduBlogs is, this is my EduBlog. I have to admit I'm not a very good blogger. I got really busy, I guess, around March, and I haven't posted anything since. But a blog is a way for a person to have a live personal diary of sorts that lives online. And EduBlogs is created for teachers to use. You get quite a bit with your free account, but of course when you pay for it you get a little more functionality and different choices of themes and so on. But blogs are great for just sharing information. The Kid Blog I really like if you are wanting to do blogging with your students, if you want them to blog as well. Kid Blog, you can set up a teacher account and then create student blogs underneath your teacher account, and it's a little more secure and controllable by the teacher. So highly recommend that for helping students to not only practice their communication skills, but also learn how to write for an audience. Games and simulations are great as well. If you only have one computer or laptop in your room, these are great. This is one example of a simulation site called PhET, and these are cool because they give kids really neat experiences that they might not otherwise get to have. Simulations are good for being able to make mistakes and then try again. And it's very similar to a game type of concept where students are not afraid to experiment with different causes and see what effects they have. So a lot of science stuff. Okay, so you can go through and find any of these that might work with what you teach in your class. Here's a bunch of math ones as well. So just really fun. You can have kids, you know, go on the computer and go through a simulation with a partner or a group of 3 and have them really collaborate and talk about what they think they should do in order to complete the different challenges. So that's PhET. There'll be other simulations that are sites that will be linked, so you can explore those more in depth. Other games, many of you might remember the old Oregon Trail, and looking at how the choices that you make affect the people that are traveling. And there's also apps. And also you might remember Carmen Sandiego. Okay, again, game-based learning and simulations really help kids get more learning through play. Learning adventures, so using a web quest to have groups of kids go through and complete a web quest. This one site is called Zunal.com, and I really love this site because of this handy little browse. Look at this. So the numbers represent how many web quests are available on the site by grade level and then content. You can also just do a search. So if you're looking for a certain topic in particular, let's say Civil War, and then let me say 3rd through 5th grade search. Okay, so these are all created by teachers, and they're really excellent uses of technology in the classroom. Let me just show you one of them. If you're not familiar with a web quest, they all have the same parts. Okay, so you have the introduction, the task, the process, the evaluation, and conclusion, and usually there's a teacher page. So what that is more directions on how to implement this certain web quest with your students. It gives you helpful hints and materials that you might need. Okay, and a lot of these are problem-based or project-oriented types of tasks. And web quests are intended to be done with a group of 4, not to be independent project. So it fits nicely with our 21st century learning dimensions of collaboration and real-world problem solving as well. Okay, and usually they have some kind of a rubric for the final product that they have to create. And conclusions are good because they do need to kind of summarize everything that they've learned throughout this whole process. And I'll just show you the teacher page. Okay, so it just gives helpful hints. Okay, if you go onto webquest.org as well, that's where it originated. You'll find more as well, but this one I think is my favorite. And also it has a WebQuest creator template. You can also usually edit and revise any of these existing ones to fit your needs the best. Virtual field trips. More and more we just don't have the money or the opportunity to take kids on field trips. Whether it's we are too focused on Common Core or other, getting ready for the test and so on, it's really difficult to get kids out of the building to learn. But we all know that they learn the best when they're doing and exploring. So doing a virtual field trip on the computer, whether you do it as a whole class or students work in groups to explore, it's really cool to experience these. This has a database on this site where you can find actual live synchronous types of virtual field trips where you get online at a certain day or time and you actually get to see live video streaming from like a museum or an aquarium or somewhere like that. So there's some that are like that, and there are also some that are just kind of explore at your own pace type of idea. This one doesn't want to open. So there'll be more in the on the Pinterest board for you to explore. All right, well, let's shift gears into looking at iPads. Um, many of these things, ideas can work on iPod touches, but as you know, that's a much smaller screen. So it is preferable that you have an iPad for implementing these types of ideas. Again, with an iPad, you must have Wi-Fi. You just have to. It will not run. You can't hardwire it. It defeats the purpose of having that mobile device if you don't have Wi-Fi. So make sure you are able to have Wi-Fi in your classroom, in your school, and so on. If you are thinking about using the iPad as your one device. And actually, if you do have one device in our school district, or if you have an iPad in our school district, you actually have two devices because you have your classroom computer as well. So what do you need? Many of the same things that you need for the laptop. You have the headphone splitter, projector, or an active board. This little wonderful thing, this VGA adapter, so you can connect it to either the computer that is being projected, or you could connect it directly to the active board, and that way everybody can see what's on the screen. There are also some programs, software programs you can buy for not very much, about $20–$30, that you can wirelessly connect and project you can mirror what's on your iPad onto your computer that's already connected to a projector or an active board. AirPrint, so a printer that is AirPrint enabled, or you're able to print wirelessly from your device. Again, like I said earlier, you're not going to be printing that much, but on occasion there are things you're going to want to print, and having an AirPrint enabled printer will be excellent for that. Software and apps. So you want to have iTunes account for your classroom, or you might have one for your school, but more than likely you'll have one, personal one or a classroom one. And this is the App Store, if you're not familiar with that. And it's nice to kind of stock up on if parents ask how they can help, or if they want to contribute something to your class, ask for gift cards, iTunes gift cards. This really makes it a lot more manageable for you as the teacher, so you're not constantly spending your own money, which I know many teachers do, but using the software that is used on the iPad are the apps. So that's all you need for software. Miscellaneous items, for sure, with the younger grades, you gotta have some kind of a case or a cover for it. I really like this one for the younger ones because it has the handles, really reinforces that they need to hold on to that device. I like these as well that have a stand in some way. And you can use that headphone splitter on this as well. So if you have more than one student on the device, then everybody can hear what's going on. A stylus. Many people are getting a little up in arms about students, that it's not good for students to, especially younger ones, to not use paper and pencil because they are not getting their eye-hand coordination and their fine motor skills developed by using a a pencil. So I use a stylus when I use my iPad, and it really does help with that dexterity instead of just touching it with your finger. They also make fine point stylus so that it's not just that wide rubbery type of end like on this one. They make some that are fine points. You can actually write much like you write with a pencil or a pen. And the cleaning that you need a soft cloth that is meant for using with a computer, an iPad, any kind of mobile device or tablet. You should never use a glass cleaner like spray, like Windex. They do make some screen protector, or not screen protector, screen cleaner spray. I don't necessarily need that unless you're going to have a lot of handprints, which you might with kids. Um, but you can even use just a little tiny bit of water with that cloth as well. I also don't really like the plastic screen protectors that you can put on there because they do get a lot of bubbles in them that are hard to get out, and sometimes it distorts what you can see on the screen. So the iPad is pretty durable as far as the screen. It's going to take a lot to scratch it. You don't want kids to drop it for sure. That will crack it quite a bit. So, but with general use, even with a stylus, it's not going to scratch that screen. Management and organization. Here are some really cute little rules for iPads, and you'll see that some of these are more appropriate for younger kids. But just some ideas. You do need to have rules, especially when you just have that one device. You need to make sure that they understand how much they are, and that once, if it gets destroyed, then they won't get to use it anymore. This one would be for older kids. This one's a middle school one. Okay. Thinking back to when we talked about scheduling for the laptop or the desktop computer, it's really the same concept. So you can use the same type of strategies that were mentioned earlier. There's also some neat apps that will manage time for you. This one's called Screen Time. And what you can do is you can put your students' names into the iPad, and you can set how much time they can have on the device itself. So that's a neat app. StickPick I mentioned before, but it's really fun on an iPad itself. And what I really like, this is not just an app for picking names, but it also allows you to assign different levels of questioning, and it can record also if the student answered correctly. And it's nice because it keeps track, and there's even the ESL questions as well. So you don't even have to really think too much about when you're in question mode. So this one's a great app, and it's $2.99, but well worth it. Resources and file management for the iPad. Now this is a good example of a visual reference sheet for kids on each of the parts, the buttons of an iPad, although most kids are pretty familiar with it already. But it's good to have little reference sheets out there. You do want to have some kind of a file management that is within the iPad itself. You don't really want kids having to print things out and putting it in a folder. You can do that, but I would recommend using something like Evernote because you can set up different notebooks that so you can set up a notebook for each kid, and as they are working on a project, they can just store it in their notebook, and you'll always have it within the device itself. Having specific bookmarks on the screen when you're on any website, you can add the bookmark and add it to the home screen so that let's say you've got 2 or 3 different websites that are part of the lesson for the week. You can make shortcuts on the iPad itself so they're not having to type in anything into Google or open up the browser at all. They can just click on that shortcut and go directly to the sites you want them to look at. Same with printing. Again, anytime you're in a program or an app where it has this symbol, they can send it to print. This one's Printopia, which is a really cool one. Just a different way to go through. Help and monitoring. Now with an iPad, and I've put this definition here, the iPad is very intuitive. Even little babies, as you can see in that picture, can start figuring it out almost immediately because it's pretty easy to tell how to push buttons, how to swipe, how to close things, and open different apps. They're pretty quick at it, so that's what I really like about the iPad. But you can also create, again, little tutorials, little one-pager type of hints, especially when you get into specific apps, or do just short demos with your kids before they are to use it. These are a couple really cute apps. This one is called Too Noisy, and this is the light version, but basically what it is you can set this little, I don't know what you would call it, it's not a timer, but you can set it how sensitive it is to noise. And if you get too sensitive, and see they've shown you, you can change the background as well, and you can pick what kind of a meter, a noise meter you have. And if it stays below the red for certain lengths of time, the class can earn the stars and so on. What's really funny is if you put this on there and if it gets way too loud, it like cracks. It looks like it cracks the screen and it goes. So it's pretty funny. And I'm sure the kids would love to do that just for fun, just to see what it looks like when it gets over a certain amount of noise. Class Dojo is actually a full-on behavior management type of app, and it's basically making behavior management into a game. And students can earn badges, and they can earn different other awards that is just really fun. And so you can do this directly on the iPad. Also, parents can have a login so they can see how their child is doing in class. It's just really fun. And there's teacher resources, lots of great help documents and videos, and sending stuff to parents. The iPad itself was never designed to be used by multiple people, like in a classroom. It was meant to belong to one person who uses it for all their own needs. And that's where it's tough sometimes with having just one iPad in the classroom is it's really not set up to have different accounts or different sign-ins. So here's some strategies for you for the iPad. There's a lot of things that are built in already. Photos and photo booth, the browser, YouTube, Notes. So even with just these built-in apps, there's a lot of things you can do. You could have students take pictures of different things around the classroom or outside, or depending on what their lesson's about. They can take pictures of each other, and those can be used in future projects that they do. They can use the maps to find out how far it is from one place to another and see where the landscape changes, and different landmarks around town even. YouTube, we've already talked about using video, so that because the app is right on there already, you can access different videos directly from there. And then there's a little notepad. Students can create a note for each time they are, using the iPad itself. And if that's part of the assignment, they can just get in there and make um, a note for whatever they're doing. And the other apps, of course, are there. You can, if you don't want them getting into your calendar or your mail, again, that's a rule and a procedure that they need to be taught. iWork and iLife are all free now. Each of these apps. This is the Mac version of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So these are the down here. And then Photo, iMovie, GarageBand. These are all very robust apps that you can do quite a bit with. You can create a movie or songs. Just incredible. So these are all free. I really love this infographic that I found on iPad for Schools. And basically, it's the 4 apps you need in a one iPad classroom. And basically, it's a recordable whiteboard, so it doesn't have to be explain everything, but it can be. But any other recordable whiteboard. Cloud video storage like YouTube. You can create your own class YouTube channel where only the videos that you have created can live, and you can actually password protect that so that only students or parents can see it. A class Evernote account that we discussed about creating student notebooks. And then Penultimate, which is actually a sketch pad that goes along with Evernote. It's one of their products as well. So for drawing and doing math problems or something that other than just typing. Creating app folders is a good way to organize your apps. So you can tell kids, oh, let's go in and make sure you're going into the children's folder so you can go directly to the certain apps that you have picked out for that week's lesson or that day. You also want to make sure that you emphasize which apps are off limits. So they don't need to be going into the App Store. They don't need to be going into, again, like your personal email or anything like that. So it does take some time to kind of train them on what they can and can't do. Using interactive docs and photos. This is a PDF app where you can annotate a PDF document. Okay, so you can preload PDFs onto the iPad, and let's say it's a reading passage and you want students to read it in a partner and highlight certain areas where they find evidence to support their viewpoint, and so on. Just use the tool itself for interacting with documents. And then Sketch is the same kind of tool but for photos. And it also does PDFs as well. And again, we've talked about whiteboarding and screencasting. These are apps that you can do that with. Screen Chomp, Educreations, and Explain Everything. And Educreations is also web-based, so you can use it on a computer or an iPad. Voice recording, you can record students as they're reading aloud, or if they're talking through how they would solve a math problem, or if you wanted to just record for other reasons throughout the day. Dragon dictation is an interesting tool because it actually will transcribe what you say. So for students who are maybe struggling with writing and they can use this instead, but there's a little bit of training that they have to do to make sure it understands the words they're saying. So, but it's pretty fun to use. Digital books. Uh, Kindle might be the most familiar for people, but so if you have a Kindle account, um, you can read anything that you've purchased on the Kindle. A lot of free books as well. iBooks is built in. Again, there's some free books, and these other two apps here, when you have a chance to explore, will help you find books that are in the public domain already, so you can put them on the device. Digital storytelling, there's so many apps available for students to create digital stories. Some of these are like cartoon based. There's a sock puppet one. Some of them that walk them through each step of creating a story. Puppet Pals is fun as well. I know we're running short of time here, so I'm just going to briefly look at these. But when you have your chance to explore, you can pick the ones that you want to look at. Okay, so our Pinterest board for this workshop, you can click through and go to the board, and all the resources that were mentioned in the webinar will be linked there so you can explore further, along with some other resources that weren't mentioned will be there as well. So you always have access to that. You do need to create an account. It is a free account in order to view the boards. So hopefully you've already done that and enjoy that exploration. And here's our disclaimer. You really do need to make yourself more knowledgeable about the laws that protect student privacy and data. And anytime you are having students create projects or create an account on a Web 2.0 tool, you need to make sure that you ask your principal and your parents and get permission specific for each app or tool that you're having them use. And also check out the terms of service for each app. I know a lot of times we just kind of click through and say, I agree to the terms of service, but we may not always, I know I don't read through all of them, but it is a very good idea for you to do that and be familiar with the potential liability that is involved. Also on Pinterest, you'll see we have several resources there to help you understand these different laws. And if you want to learn more about being a 21st century educator, you can find classes that we offer and other resources on our website at wcsd21.com. Follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter name is at WCSD21. And of course, all of our Pinterest boards are always available. I thank you very much. I'm sorry I went a little over our time, but a lot of great stuff to get to share with you. So I hope that this was valuable and have a good evening.